Welcome to Alistair Davies Golf. Today I want to look at Raphael's golf swing and Trackman numbers. And also at the end of this video you'll see his natural golf swing in high speed also to have a look at how he flows. So looking at his Trackman numbers, there's a lot to like. His speeds from ball speed and clubhead speed are pretty much tour average. He's slightly below clubhead speed, but ball speed's pretty good. So his efficiency is excellent. Angle of attack is a little bit more down than tour average at 4.8 degrees, but again still excellent. Club path very good, 1.6 degrees in to out, and the club face 1.1 left of target. So that's probably a little bit more left than I'd like to see, and perhaps he would like to see also. The interesting thing about it is when we look at his kind of spin on the ball, his spin on the ball is actually left to right. So that would initiate or indicate to me that there'll be some heel contact in there, which will help straighten that ball fly out, and the gear effect stops the ball going left to target on this particular case. Launch angle and plane numbers are all very good, and distance is very good, and smash factor slightly better than tall players, as we talked about earlier. With his speed being lower and his ball speed being higher, his efficiency is excellent. So a lot to like with his Trackman numbers. The only thing I'd be looking at really when I'm looking at his golf swing here would be the club face and see the journey of the club face and why it might be closed at contact. So when we look at his setup, I think it's in a fairly good position. The only thing I'd look at long term would be his kind of neck posture and his chin posture, and possibly his hip location. If we look at the right hand screen there, his hip location could be a little bit more tailbone to target for me to help his weight transfer through his spine. Now when we look at his backswing, what we tend to see is the golf club goes back a little bit in and a little bit closed, so that might be the reason why the face is closed at contact. Then as he moves up to the top of the backswing, for me he does a pretty good job, but albeit the shaft plane there steepens more than I'd like to see it. I'd like to see that shaft plane a bit flat at that point. For me, the club goes in and then steepens a little bit, but actually gets to a very nice position at the top of the backswing from an arm position. But you will see the left wrist there slightly twisted and rotated, and that's because of the journey of the plane on the backswing for me. If we look at the right-hand screen, you'll start to see the spine there ever so slightly side bending a little bit, so stacking on the left-hand side a little bit more than I probably want from a physical point of view. And as he comes down, you might see a reaction to that, which might be why his speed's slightly lower, or potentially you could have more speed if you look at it that way. So as he swings down, what we'll see here is the hip and knee go forward, but the knee's definitely ahead of the hip. The hip could do with being in line with the knee a bit more for me. And we'll also see as the club gets nearer to the ground here, we see the club face is slightly closed. And that's part of the reason why the ball has that the club face has that closed position according to Trackman at contact, and the spin obviously axis would be to the left to right because of the heel contact. We see this position quite common with a lot of players, but when you look at Raphael, you see his hands there are just extending a little bit too far away from his body in terms of the down the line view. They're too far to the right, and his hand actions is a bit excessive. And when we look at the right hand screen here, for me, I'd like to see his pivot a little bit more dominant than that. I think his kind of hip and tailbone there need to go a little bit more forward for me towards target to help create again a bit more power, control his low point a little bit better. But he does a good job with his low point through having very good wrist action and lag action. So where he's not ideal in some areas, he's more than ideal in others to make up for it. So, you know, known as one of the kind of prettiest, most rhythmical golf swings on tour, there's a lot to like in this golf swing. For me, if I was working with him, and I'd have to look at evidence and more shots and see how it breaks down under pressure and so on, I'd want to look at his club face control and his kind of pivot control a little bit better to create maybe a little bit more speed and a bit more control around his hand action through the ball.